Mulțumesc. Îmi pare foarte bine să fiu aici și ca să nu avem bariere de comunicare cu prietenii și cei care au vizitat Moldova, aș trece pe engleză. So, very happy to be here and a bit present how we as a maib think about digitization, about automation. And the way we think about that, the way I want to present to you today is to start really overarching picture. How do we see the evolution of the banking? How do we see the digitization topic, automation topic as such, globally, but also in Moldova, which of course very much interconnected. And then follow up with some examples, what do we do at maib? Now, if we talk about digitization, I mean, it's quite big word. If we ask every one of you here or everyone from outside, probably everyone will have a bit different answers, and all of them are right. It's not the right or wrong answer. It's about analytics. It's about robotics. Whatever it means, I'll present it. How do we think about that? It's about automation. It's about data. It's about machine learning, and so on. There are a lot of words behind digital automation. So what we try to do now, what I try to do is a bit demystify what practically it means for us now and the nearest future. If you look on the banking, very often we say that we are going through digital transformation, through automation. And banking is one of the forerunners for the last many years. So the banking has been evolving. It was a forerunner for the transformation as such in the economy, being the blood of the economy in general, like through money supply, through payments and so on. It started from, I don't know, more than 500 years ago, very, very manual, very rudimentary. Then in the 90s, last century, the beginning of last century was very human-driven, very manual. Lately, we see it's 50-50. So we have both digital and brick and mortar type of banking. And the future, probably, it will be mostly digital. It will be, we will barely see some branches. We will see, but still many less than we see now. Behind it, and that's example just of payments, and we'll discuss a lot of payments here. Behind this, of course, technology. The transformation, digital, doesn't happen by itself. It's about how we combine, how we leverage the technology as such. And that's where I think finance and technology come together. I mean, if you look, interesting picture from the left-hand side, like a couple of centuries ago, it was, you see the cashier, like what I understood, you were coming with the cash, you were putting in the box, and then was sending in the bottom of the banking, or the other way around. And then start evolving. We have checks. At some point of time, we had PayPal. I remember 90s. Lately, we had POS. In the future, we have also like payments with the watches, with the cards. In the future, maybe with your rentals and so on. So the technology is really behind. Now, the question which we put, why it's now so on the top of the mind? What makes now these days, it is so different from the, let's say, 10, 15, 30, 100 years ago. And what we believe, it's just being accelerated exponentially. And there are many reasons behind, but when we looked and made a bit of, is it here to stay? Is it here like to stay for the next, I don't know, many tens of years, or it's maybe just a spike and then goes down? And what we see is there are a couple of key drivers behind. Now let me count and explain just 3 of them. The amount of data. And I think Moldova is really making huge progress. Myself just came around 6 months ago back in Moldova, and I've seen the huge difference, I don't know, a year ago, 5, 10 years ago than now. All we do, it's digital. And of course, whatever we pay, whatever we use, we leave digital footprint somewhere. With our payments, with our check-ins in the restaurants, and I don't know, when we fly somewhere. So the data is being accumulated a lot, which means it's a value. And there is a saying even, data is the future oil, or current oil already. And 90%, that's what statistics says, of the all data which is being gathered worldwide for the last thousands of years is being gathered the last 2-3 years. And the growth is again exponential. The second one, so-called the Morse rule, which says that the power of microchips is being doubled each second year. And what we see, the power of calculation is also increasing significantly, which of course means that the data which we use theoretically and practically, we can process. We can get some insights. We can use it. We don't need anymore, I don't know, to wait for 10 minutes or for 1 hour, for 1 day to run. I remember in my old days, Monte Carlo simulation back in 2005, 2006. It takes you like 1-2 hours. In the future, it will take you 1-2 minutes. So the power of the microchips, the power of calculation is being exponentially increased, and it continues. The third one, in order to process that huge amount of data, to have access to that data firstly, and then to process it, you need a huge power, energy, which usually are somewhere in the cloud, which practically means you have a huge server somewhere which run the huge set of calculation. To access to those servers, or to make a payments live, or to have whatever transaction, you need internet. And here's an example of the research which was done. It's just if you compare the speed of the internet from beginning of 90s, 1994, until end of 20s, it's like huge growth, which practically means me personally, as a person, as a bank, as an organization, as a government, I can access anytime, live, all the information I have in the world, and not only access it, but also process it. And you see the interesting analogy from ant and to space machine. So that's the speed which we talk about, and that's being increasing. So it's here to stay. But what practically it means to us as a banking or as an economy? When we searched and we checked some global institutes, like here is an example of MGI, McKinsey Global Institute, they made research a couple of years back and said, okay, what will be the impact of automation, digitization in the next 5-10 years, in the next years? And they discovered that it will automate, digitize the work which we are doing, the economy is doing, of 15 trillion worldwide. So you see that around 35%, 1/3 of what people we are doing in the bank, in general in the economy, it can be automated with the current technology or digitized. Another 50%, quite easily. Another 50% could be digitized relatively easily, but needs some changes, be it on the technology side, like different applications, more stable machine learning algorithm, you name it, be it on the process side or organization design side, so it's both sides. And only around 15% you see will be difficult to automate in the coming 5 to 10 years. But what's important here, that only 5% of the jobs, of the roles, potentially could be eliminated, which practically means the roles and the jobs which we have will be the same as a name, but the content, the type, the work we do, the type of activities we run will be different. For instance, from our side, like financial analyst, he will not run probably Excels day and nights, but he will spend much more time on understanding insights, translating those insights into the business language, into the business logics, which practically we are paid for. Now, if you look on the impact of that impact, of huge impact, 35% today could be digitized, automated, 50% in the nearest future, the impact is across all sectors. I highlighted here finance and insurance, for instance, example, but you see here the sectors by sectors and activity type, like manage, expertise, run, collect the data, process the data, run physical activities. So you see the impact is across all sectors and definitely across finance and insurance or financial sector in general. It's over 40%. So we need to do something with that. If we look, again, I'll try to go top down and see what does it mean for us, for me as a finance, as a banking in general. Example of finance, around 1/3 is being impacted. For instance, how I run end of month closing, how I run quarterly reporting. So 1/3, depending on the type of activities, but overall 1/3 could be digitized, automated. Again, it means that people who run these activities today could be refocusing their attention and are starting refocusing more and more attention on supporting the business, developing the insights, developing so what's for the retail, for the corporate, for SME business. So impact is huge. And what I want to highlight, what we see, and we definitely see in our strategy, in our objectives as a bank, is, of course, from one side, it's about operational improvement and efficiency. But beyond that, it's about serving customer quicker. So when you come to the branch, for instance, you give your data, and let's say you have assessment of your credibility, creditworthiness in a matter of minutes, seconds, and not a matter of days or weeks. It's about how quickly I serve the customer, how satisfied are employees and colleagues of ours, how good or strong quality it is, so you don't need to recheck because it's done by machines, and that's done perfectly well. So what we see, the value of digitization beyond just operational improvement and efficiency, is much broader. It really gives you the tools to create more value, which could not be created even theoretically just 10 years ago. Now, what practically means for us as a bank, or what practically means as technology landscape? Because when Fintech, of course, technology landscape is much broader, much broader. But what we want to highlight a couple of technologies on this and next slide, which we see as a current set of technologies. Some of them start using, some of them planning to start using in the nearest future to create that additional value and to capture it. On this slide, you see that set of technologies which more around automation, digitization of the current workflows. Like robotic process automation, which practically means whoever used macro or Excel is macro on steroids. So you can automate, digitize transactional rule-based work. It's smart workflows, which connects the longer process and steps, which technology well established, at least in my experience, used quite a lot abroad. Really, when you take a complex process, which, I don't know, 5, 7, 8 steps across different departments, or including also customer, and you can automate it and make it smoothless. OCR and ICR, it's all about getting the documents, especially in our economy, which is still a lot of paper-based, but goes very quickly to the paperless, to get the technology and get the paper, what is written, handwritten or taped, and translate into digital format, and then, of course, processed. The next set of technologies, they're using the data, which I just discussed before, and they convert it into insights. Just a couple of them. Process mining. That's one of the tools super helpful to understand how your actual processes work. Like how practically people make invoices, how practically, or the steps they take to approve the credit or to make underwriting for insurance policy and so on. NLP, it's all around automatic generation or reading the text. It's again based on the big data, based on the technology which enables you to have reports, for instance, performance report of the company from the market automatically done by the software. Machine learning, it's all around getting these data which you had, and as I mentioned, there are a huge amount of data from structured and unstructured, and understand and get insights. And last but not least, CA, so-called cognitive agents. These are mainly chatbots or robots which can talk on the help desk and then help us to at least basic services automated. Very quickly we'll go, for instance, RPA from to and how it works. So this is one of the first technology we're looking at to really automate, especially in the finance, a big opportunity. You look at the current process where it's rule-based, transactional, it's kind of what if then to-dos, and you try to automate using RPA. It's again macro on steroids. You press a button or you schedule it overnight, over the weekend, and it's done automatically. So you don't need people to check, I don't know, if credit's equal to debits or whatever accounts. If we talk about OCR again, if you take the paper, instead of someone getting and typing, I don't know, number of account and so on, you just scan it, it automatically reads, understands the invoice, IBAN number, and so on, and just gets automatically. ICR, the same, but now not only understanding the taped or the structured text, but also understanding, for instance, the signature. So something which is, you need kind of the reasoning behind, is it right or wrong? Smart workflows, I think that's what at least the huge impact we see on the complex processes, which are broken between departments, between bank and other organization, or between our organization, maib, let's say, and its customers. So something where automatically you can process very quickly without waiting for human intervention. So it's just a standard workflows, business process management tool, but it's just smarter. It knows where to stop, whom to send, and what to escalate, or just wait for the person to approve. Machine learning, I think we see a lot of this, and Power BI we also use a lot. But what we, in the future, and once we automate and get the data, it's about getting hidden insights. So this one I think is super critical, because it's not about capturing the value, but it's about creating the value. For instance, making really personalized offerings on products, on the interest rates, or really personalized risk assessment, credit risk, and so on. So it's really the technology which allows to create additional value not possible to create with the human brain, or because we're just not able to get those interchanges. NLP, as I mentioned, it's very much used, at least abroad, on the creating standard reports. Asset managers use it a lot. For us, more around when we analyze reports to get structured very quickly understanding of, I don't know, performance of our competitors or performance of the key customers based on their financials or based on their reports, on their websites, on the internet, whatever. CA, that's a next-gen technology for kind of chatbots. When you call and you want to block your account, for instance, or you want to get the current account statement, you just don't need to talk to the person necessarily. You know, on IVR, you press a button and it sends you to to the virtual agent. Very much used already abroad, and I think that's exactly what we are going to see in Moldova in the coming years. And as I mentioned, process mining is just to understand how processes work to be able to continuously improve it, even live. Now, Moldova is this journey, but there is still kind of what we see operating income per employee, it's quite stable, but it will, through digitization, automation, the level of operating income per employee, which is one of the key indicators of the kind of the efficiency of the workforce, will leap. There is still some opportunity, especially when we talk about the Moldovan banking system. Number of employees per branch, I want to highlight here the number of branches being optimized. So what we see, people who are coming to branch are coming with a higher, with request for the high value at work. They don't come, or very much less come for the payments or at all, or to, I don't know, to get the account statement. They come to understand what they can do on their savings, what's the best way to invest, and so on. So even though we see also in the West and other competitive economies, banking players, the number of employees not necessarily decreases, but the type of work people are doing is very different. And what we see also, the non-cash payments, we talk a lot about payments here in general, is increasing exponentially. And we really expect that that will be the next big boom, and it is already the next big boom. Now, while we're moving further, what I hear, at least since joining, and then in general in maib, but not only, like what we hear people are saying, in general, there is a big interest, there is kind of hype. Okay, we need to digitize, automate, but the gap is quite big, and people are very often afraid of that. Very often people say, let's invest, and we'll get the impact, a P&L impact or balance sheet or number of customers in 2, 3, 5 years. So it's kind of, there is a, not today, not tomorrow, but in 1, 2 years. Oh, we can do it, it's a great idea, great initiative, but it will take us, we need to standardize the process, by the way, which is true, and that's what we are doing, at least in finance here. But we need to standardize processes, we need to structure our input file, and so on. And usually what I see, there are a lot of pilots, but quite challenging to scale it up. So that's what we hear, and why it happens, we see, or we believe, is there is a limited understanding, or there is opportunity to understand better what are the use cases. So always when we come to the, I don't know, for instance, agile tribe or meeting, we say, okay, what are the use cases when to digitize, automate? What exactly, what is specific use case with the value behind? And then we prioritize it. Often, and that's not a black and white, but often we start with the small potatoes. I mean, I talk in general on the economy, but what we try to do is figure out what are the top 2, 3, 5 use cases, super important. For instance, Face ID, or for instance, payments. So what exactly use case which we need to prioritize and do it right now or the next 6 months, and not wait for the years and years. How to translate this business case into P&L impact. Another challenge is the knowledge, and I think that's why we're also here, how to develop that knowledge through reskilling, upskilling, hiring, bringing know-how from abroad or developing in the country. And how to combine this new digital, but not only capabilities, because you don't need only digital capabilities. Very often, I also feel it very strongly here in Moldova and maib, we approach it or at the beginning we start approaching from it's a digital challenge. But most of the time, it's not a digital challenge. It's a challenge of digital, of technology, of systems, of people, of capabilities as such. So there is a set of challenges which we face. And how do we think about that, kind of the practices? And what we do as maib, at least from the perspective, okay, these are the challenges we face, let's face them, and what we're going to do about that. And I would highlight just 5 of them. Create common vision where we target, kind of inspirational for employees, for the customers, and that's what you'll see on the next slide as well. It's the digital is really a cornerstone for us. And as Georgi, CEO of maib, mentioned, customer in the middle, and digital is the core to get closer to the customer through different channels. Assess the value at stake. In fact, define what can we win from the top line, from the bottom line, from the point of view of number of customers, number of transactions, you name it. And here, again, what already was mentioned a bit, define the backlog on the product level. We just launched Driver Hub last year, Casa Hub, to be launched Pay Hub, application for maib Junior. So these are just examples of how we think about how to prioritize specific products and services to be able to capture the value. Think critically about the current set of technologies and data sets which you have and build up on it. You cannot replace everything, and it doesn't even make sense. You just try to make it nimble and agile, this set of technologies. And here, again, example, Power BI, SAP, we're just implementing here as well, Creation as a CRM system. So it's a set of technologies and how the overall IT and technology architecture fits together. Think more globally, structurally. Super critical and challenging is building internal capabilities or in general capabilities. Here, how we think about that is through reskilling, upskilling. So you take people which are very prone to or very easy to, I don't know, they know very well VBA, for instance. And you say, okay, do you want to get better in SQL? Are you able and can you do it? Are you willing to do that? Yes, okay, let's do it. So we launched maib Academy a couple of weeks back, IT Academy. So all the initiatives to reskill, upskill the people and our employees. And last but not least, all these need to come together. Systems, people, partners, government. And the way we see it, how to make it more nimble and agile is through a different internal operating model, so-called agile operating model. And one of the cornerstones, again, is agile, where we start with retail and SME banking, and then scale it up across retail and SME this month, and next year across corporate and beyond, and support functions. Just to give you an idea how we think about kind of overall strategy focus, you see here a lot of digital, agile transformation, mentioned about IPO, all the 4 initiatives which Georgi just mentioned 1 hour ago. So, but digital is super critical for us, and the way we think about digital is beyond just technology and systems. It's about data, about people, and about how we leverage specific latest set of technologies like RPA, like smart workflows to create and capture value. Thank you.